Welcome to Today Matters, our short devotional in the Word of God. And today is a day to remember. It's a day to reflect and a day to remember. We must never forget that on December 7th, 1941, there was an air raid on Pearl Harbor. The Bible is clear that we are to reflect and to remember things from the past, things that are important. Why? Because it tells us to give honor to those who deserve honor. And here's what happened. Many of you know this. Japanese planes attacked the United States Naval Base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, killing more than 2,300 Americans. And the USS Arizona was completely destroyed, and the USS Oklahoma capsized. Listen, a total of 12 ships sank and were beached in the attack, and 9 additional vessels were damaged. More than 160 aircraft were destroyed, and more than 150 others were damaged. There was a hurried dispatch from the ranking United States naval officer in Pearl Harbor, Admiral Husband Edward Kimmel, Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet. And to all major Navy commands and fleet units, he provided the first official word of the attack at the ill-prepared Pearl Harbor base. It said simply this: air raid on Pearl Harbor. This is not a drill. There's a picture of it there on your screen of the actual dispatch. I mean, you can just imagine that moment. Just those simple words which had such incredible meaning. Very simple, very to the point, very direct, right? We were under attack. Now, the following day, in an address to a joint session of Congress, President Franklin Roosevelt called December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. Congress then declared war on Japan, ushering the United States into World War II. And within days, Japan's allies, that was Germany and Italy, declared war on the United States. And the country began a rapid transition to a wartime economy by building up armaments in support of the military campaigns in the Pacific, in North Africa, and in Europe. Many of your family members and mine were involved in one way or another in that world war. As our world is turned upside down today, you can imagine back in that day, December 7th, 1941, how incredibly crazy it was. On the day following Pearl Harbor, many news agencies responded by recording man-on-the-street interviews, like in New York, North Carolina, Texas, Washington, D.C., and other places. They interviewed salesmen and electricians and janitors and oilmen and cab drivers, housewives, students, soldiers, physicians, and others regarding events of December 7th. Among the interviewees was a California woman who was visiting her family in Dallas, Texas. And they asked her about her thoughts on what had just happened the day before. And I thought this was very interesting. She said, "My first thought was what a great pity that another nation should be added to those aggressors who strove to limit our freedom. I find myself at the age of 80, an old woman, hanging on to the tail of the world, trying to keep up." But listen to what she says. "I don't want the driver's seat, but the eternal verities. There are certain things that I wish to express. One thing that I am very sure of is that hatred is death, but love is light. I want to contribute to the civilization of the world, but when I look at the Holocaust that's going on in the world today," she says, "I'm almost ready to just let go." You know, we find ourselves today at a point where many people feel they have no hope. They're feeling bombarded by messages of fear and forced isolation. Many people are like this woman back in 1941. They are almost ready to let go. And I want to encourage you today. Just as we came back as a nation stronger after the bombing of Pearl Harbor and after the Second World War, we will come back stronger after this bombing from a virus and even from governmental officials and constant fear-mongering. We need to be wise and we need to be safe. But listen to me, we need not fear. I'll close with this. We realize this is a difficult time and our nation has faced difficult times in the past. We realize things we're being told are not jiving with some of the things that we're seeing. And I want to encourage you to do something today. I want you to pray. Pray for God's peace to overwhelm you, for God's purpose to be clear through all of this. And perhaps, most importantly today, pray for God's joy to return to you. And as a matter of fact, that is what we're going to be talking about at Skyline this coming Sunday. Joy. How can we have joy during a season such as this? So I want to encourage you, ask the Lord today, because today matters.